3 questions to answer. And you remember, we have 60 interview questions, which we are dealing with. I mean, we cover much more, but 60 is the focus, because 95% of what they're going to ask is limited to 60 questions. So right now, you look at 3 out of 60, which is 5%. What would you do if developer says she or he cannot reproduce your bug report? What you have to understand. In between you report the bug and developer starts looking at the bug report, there might be, I mean, quite a few days, going. So you might report it today and they look in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, sometimes in a month. It depends on severity and priority of the bug you write. They might never look at your bug. But so naturally, lots of bugs are being fixed in between. So when developer says, OK, let's take a look at the bug, and there is no bug. Because lots of bugs which you report are not exactly bugs, but they are incomplete implementations. It just didn't finish yet. It's not like someone made a mistake. No, it just needs some time to be finished. And that is the nature of the process. You report a bug anyway, but lots of them will be fixed without anybody looking at your bug report. So that is number one. It happens a lot. And if developer tells you, I cannot reproduce the bug, I would say, well, at least 50–60% probability is there's no bug anymore. But let's say the bug is still there. Let's see what you are suggesting. If developer says, I cannot reproduce your bug, I will ask him to have a look at my computer, and where I will reproduce him this bug. Guys, that is something which happens, but not right away. Not right away, normally. I can tell you another thing. In today's world, I know lots of companies where people, testers, just take their cell phone, okay, and videotape their steps to reproduce and attach to the bug report. So if developer cannot reproduce the bug using the verbal description of bug report, developer might look at the video. It is so common now. You don't have to bring camera, to your office. So number one. Number two, definitely in today's world, even if your developer is in Bangalore and you are here, or Brazil, guys, we still can share screens using Skype or other tools. And sometimes it's difficult, because if you are here and the developer is in Bangalore, so then the time frame for that communication is limited, because you both have to be in the office. It's OK, make a video. We are trying to get more kind of technological approach to that. So out of the audience, what would be the logical next step?
To find a similarly designed
yourself. You try it yourself, guys. Before you tell to these developers and say, look how I do it, make sure the bug is still there. So the first step would be, you want me to write it down on your screen? OK. OK. I'm not sure if you have seen what we've done on the forum. I started the topics. OK. OK, step number one, we are saying try to reproduce on a QA computer. Your own, yeah? So naturally, if the bug is not there, what do you do? Just close it. If you cannot reproduce it, and developer says, I cannot reproduce it, there is no bug. OK, just forget about it. Does it happen? A lot, a lot. So before you bother developer, just make sure the bug is still there. Then you are saying, OK, what if I try to reproduce, and it is reproducible. Let's see what you are suggesting, guys. I want to, because you have to know who you are too. I mean, it's just, okay. And again, we are learning. That is the very first time we look at that. So the goal is to make sure next time you are better. Okay. If the developer couldn't reproduce the bug report made by tester, tester should try to reproduce bug report by himself, which is true. And if it was not successful, he have to find the way to describe the error differently. Oh, look, if you cannot reproduce it, why should you describe it differently? Just close it. There is nothing to describe. OK, good. Guys, it is a multi-step process. It is not just one step. No answer. Tell him, try one more time. OK. What would you do? I will ask what exactly she didn't reproduce. The bug report. And I will try to change my bug report. That is said in assumption that the bug is still there, guys.
Or if you're going to change your bug report, it doesn't mean your bug report, it doesn't
well, if the bug is not there, you can change your bug report forever, but keep changing forever, but the bug is not there. What are you going to reproduce? So we are talking about technology, guys. We are talking about the process of development and what happens along the way and how we handle different situations. That is what they want you to understand when they take you for internship. Are you capable of handling the basic typical situations? That is one of the basic typical situations. That's it. Then retest on your system. Good. Retest on few other systems. So guys, here we've got the second step. If the bug is reproducible on my system, so what's next? Next, I'm saying, OK, what if the logic? What if my system is a problem system? It happens all the time. If you think about doctors, guys, when I was a child, doctors would come to our apartment, to see me when I'm sick. So the first thing doctor does when doctor comes to you, doctor goes to the restroom to wash his hands, disinfect. So now they do not go under water, but they disinfect. Why? They deal with viruses all the time. Testers are of same kind. We deal with not viruses, but imperfections. And imperfections damage our systems temporarily or forever. It depends. So our system is not perfect. When we test on that system, very soon it's not perfect anymore, potentially. So what we do, we are saying try to reproduce on a few more, let's say not few, on 2, 3 more systems. Don't go for 10 or 15 or 20. I mean, 2, 3 is enough. So if your computer is the only one where the problem persists, what do you do? No, no. Guys, you try that problem on other systems. It is not there. It is just your computer where the problem exists. You close the bug report, sure. Then take care of your system.
Check your computer.
Hmm?
Check your computer.
Yeah. So make sure your system is good. Very often it comes to things like reformatting your hard drive or really reinstalling operating system. It happens routinely. Then what if the problem is reproducible on 2, 3 more systems? What do you do? I'm just trying to find answers in your reports here. When I find bug, sometimes it happened. I need reports. I need bug report. I need to report bug report. OK, very carefully and clearly understandable for my developer. OK, guys, sometimes you talk to your own wife. You know what? and you are as clear as possible. And there is no communication sometimes. I mean, so then, and developer has his own wife. Okay, so when I find bug, I immediately report step by step. Guys, we all report step by step, but developer says cannot reproduce, and I sure when I follow for this step. So basically, the idea here is I write good bug reports, no matter how good. A good bug report is a function of a good tester. If you are a good tester, your bug reports are good. You cannot really write a bad one. Just good tester cannot produce bad bug report. Okay. So most of your reports are not going beyond the first step. Two more systems. So now, if the problem is reproducible, but developer cannot reproduce the problem, now we have to focus on, so first of all, how the steps are executed, because there are certain assumptions in our mind when we are in QA, and there are different assumptions. Set of assumptions is different in developer's mind. Sometimes exact same word has a slightly different meaning. And so make sure these steps, okay, to reproduce are executed exact same way. Make sure the steps to reproduce are executed exact same way. How do we make sure? Well, we stop by and show on developer's machine. Developer stops by and says, show me. Or we share the screen, or we attach video with the steps to the bug report. There are many, many ways of doing that. Very often, I remember time, guys, when I started to test, there was no outsourcing, no offshore development, so everything was happening in the same office. And sometimes developer stops by and says, show me. Okay. Or sometimes you come and say, listen, would you mind if I show you? It depends. A great deal of company culture is involved. A great deal of relationships with developers is involved. I remember when I was working for a company called Lotus Development Corporation, if you remember it. They were purchased by IBM. And it was, you know what, if you know that building on the intersection of El Caminaril and Castra, like 4-story or 3-story brown building. So they were right in that building. And I couldn't go to developer's floor. My badge would not open their door. So that is the culture. They just isolated people from each other. If developer wants to talk to me, he has to come, open the door for me so I can squeeze in. Okay, so cultural thing. But we make sure the steps are the same. If the steps are not the same, sometimes, so if it doesn't help, sometimes we have to look at environment. We might, okay, environments, let's say OS, service packs. Yeah, it could be same operating system, but service pack is different. It could be browser, version, browser, version of this and that, software version, browser version. It could be settings and configurations. If you think a little bit about configuring a browser, guys, did anybody try to configure a browser? Did you see how many options are there available? So it might be right there. And again, developers are sophisticated people. They do lots of things which normal user might not even know it exists. So lots of things are involved. Okay, settings, configurations. Okay, that is pretty much. The last resort would be, let's say nothing helps. The last resort would be developer installing his tools on QA computer and the debugging right there. So anybody can explain what's debugging? Not fixing. Debugging is
Process of finding the bug.
okay. What is debugger? Huh?
It's bug finder.
Step-by-step process to find the error.
Step-by-step process. So you have that code, and it shows in the debugger window. Debugger is an application. Okay, it's on your screen. So you have the application you test, and you have debugger. And whatever you do as a user in that application, it shows you the source code and how you move through the source code while working as a user. So when you provide your steps in a black box way. So what developer does? Developer looks at your steps and does step by step by step, and he looks at the code, how that is processed by the code. And then when it comes to exactly to the trouble, he will see that line of the code where it happened. He say, oh, okay, comma is missing, or the variable type is wrong, or something, I don't know, whatever might be a logical problem. That is why when it comes to minimizing steps to reproduce the bug, we will talk about it today. When we want to minimize the steps to reproduce, we help developer to fix the problem, because one thing I have to go through 10 steps, keeping in stack of my brain what happened in 10 steps. So at the last step I say, aha, that is what happened. Or I have just 3 steps instead of 10. It's much easier to handle. And that is how you sell your bug to developer. You have to sell it to developer. Developer has lots of bugs to fix. And if your bug is nice looking, clearly defined, 3 steps, everybody wants to fix that bug. If it is ugly, if it is 10 steps, developer says, well, I would rather fix 3 bugs than 1. So you compete for developers' attention very often. I mean, not always. Sometimes management says that one is to be fixed now. Okay. So okay, guys, are we okay with that? Is it clear? So there is a common sense beyond that. Number one. Number two, it might vary from company to company, from team to team, from project to project, from circumstances to circumstances. So one of the things you have to understand clearly, there is no iron-made rules in that business, because flexibility is the iron-made rule. The number one rule is we are flexible. We are up to the tasks, up to the goals, up to the methodology, and this, whatever changes, and things change every day on a project, might change. And some projects are extremely dynamic, and some projects are extremely straightforward and structured and not dynamic. It depends where you work. I mean, if you work in Wells Fargo Bank, guys, it will be much more structured rather than if you test something developed by 2 guys in their garage. Okay? Good. We have second question here, which is, I'm sorry, reading glasses. What is the most frequently executed type of testing? Okay, what do we have here? Black box testing. It is not exactly what we are talking about. Type of testing means the purpose. So black box testing answers the question how it is done. How? If you think about, let's say, each of you, okay, you live in multiple classifications. So your girlfriend to your boyfriend, or daughter to your parents, sister to your sister or brother, mother to your kids. So, and at any moment of time, it is all about you. Okay, you live in multiple classifications. Same about testing. Whatever you do right now, whatever test you do, you say failed or passed. That test lives in multiple classifications. So classification number one. How it is done in relation to the code. White box, black box, gray box. Okay. How is it done in terms of the purpose? Functionality testing, so making sure it is implemented properly. Regression, making sure it's not broken. Acceptance, making sure we take it to QA, and so on. So when we say what is the most frequently executed type of testing, we mean specifically the purpose, not how it is related to the code. And I'm saying that, coming back to the black box, so black box is the most frequently executed. I don't know, guys. In many companies, they practically do not have black box testers, and all the testing, or most of the testing, is done by developers. And I realize it depends. It changes from company to company. I've seen in the book it says 30% of the developers' work is testing. So as a developer, 30% of your time you test. So saying that black box testing is the most frequently executed type of testing, let's say if you compare black box to white box, I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, definitely in many companies, white box testing is much more frequent type. But it is not what that question was about. Regression, okay. What is the most frequently? No answer, okay. Most frequently regression, black box, regression, positive, negative. Listen, positive or negative? Because together it's everything. You understand? Okay. Regression, okay. Regression is on the first place. Black box is most frequently. Guys, who told you that? Positive. So we compare positive to negative. So what is more frequent?
Positive done by developers.
Positive versus negative. I'm not sure if measuring that in frequencies is appropriate. I don't know. It is not what we meant here. Regression. Guys, if we say regression is the most frequently executed type of testing, what about release acceptance? You understand the meaning of release acceptance? Yes or no? Okay. Let me say a couple of words about that, just in case. What is release? Anybody with the idea? Release. What is release? New version of the software. How a new version comes to life? What happens that we have a new version? Update means nothing. Physically, what happens? So now we have that version. What happened?
Oh, it's live.
Huh?
Putting it into production, making it live.
Has no meaning. Doesn't answer my question.
Available to the users.
Doesn't answer my question.
We have changes.
Guys, I repeat my question. What should happen so we do have that release? We can take it and install it and look at it. What should happen so someone says, guys, we've got new release? What should happen?
It should be updated
Approval,
to
no?
the existing software code.
Approval, maybe?
Changes to the code.
Okay, developers made changes to the code. Does it mean we have new release?
No.
No. What happens to that code so we have the release?
It is 80 to 90% bug free and ready to.
What happened to the code?
Software development life cycle, like again, we have all the stages. No testing, coding testing.
Guys, think about child. Besides having father and mother, what should happen so the child is delivered? Someone should deliver the child. Guys, there is a process, takes 9 months, and then you have child delivered. You know that? How do we call that process in software? You have developers contributing the code, okay, more than 2, okay, delivering the code. And then something happens to the code, so it's delivered in the form of release. compilation, it has to be compiled. We have many, many pieces of code. You have 25 developers. Everybody makes a change. And that change exists on the system of that developer. To create the release, to create that software which we can give people, we have to compile all that together. So first of all, there are tools which help to control which piece belongs to which release, which piece of software. Developers make lots of updates. So we have to make sure all the updates are in same layer. When we compile them, we compile the right pieces. How that software is called? Calculator? Compiler? No. So software which helps to maintain integrity of releases, of pieces of software. Version control. Version control. Anybody can come with an example of a version control software. Okay, clear case. Anybody ever heard about clear case? No? PVCS. Version control system. Okay, there are software applications used by the guys responsible for creating builds. What is the title? If you have an employee whose job is to create builds, what is the title of that person? Huh? Release engineer. Release engineer. So in some companies, they have dedicated person. In many companies, one of the developers will do it. If they are not big enough or strong enough financially to have dedicated person. Release engineer, build engineer. Build engineer. Jockey. Build jockey. Okay. Someone who rides the builds. It's a slang. So there is special software which keeps track of things done related to certain releases. So what is the difference between build and release? In many companies, there is no difference. They use both as synonyms. In many companies, they say release is the build which goes to the customers, goes outside of the company. So whatever they do in between, they call them builds, build of blah, blah, blah date. Normally it doesn't have a number, but it is enumerated by the date it was done. And let's say we do build which potentially will go to the customers. We call it release candidate. So the build blah, blah, blah is the release candidate. And then we test it. Good enough. So then it becomes a release. Okay. If I go to, let me see if I can find it in Notepad. If I go to About Notepad, yeah, okay. Let me bring the light down. Look at that. It says version 6.1, yeah? Build 760 or 7601, service pack 1. Can you see it? Build. But it is a release actually, because it does go to customers. So many companies would call it a release, but they still call it build. So wherever you work, whatever terminology they use, it's okay. You are flexible enough to adjust to any terminology they might use on this project or that project. That is your job. You adjust to whichever way they do business, and you assume it might be done differently wherever you go. So you do not come with your set of rules and say, guys, what you are doing is wrong. You say, guys, whichever way we do it, we can do it together. Okay. Or maybe I should bring it down. Okay. We still use the screen, so okay. Okay. We are coming. We are coming. There is a story attached. Come on. The whole thing is in that story. So, guys, now, with what you know, what is the most frequently executed type of testing? Give me one. Don't say 1, 2, 3, 4. One. Okay, okay. Next attempt. One more time. It is not about positive or negative. It is not about black box or white box. It is about technology. In the technological process, we have to do tests for certain purpose. I'm not asking you how we do tests, positive, negative. I'm asking, what is that? What is that we do a lot? Okay, lots of you are saying regression. Okay, I just explained that regression is not the most frequent one. There is another one, which is more frequent than regression. Which one?
Build acceptance.
Huh?
Build acceptance.
Build acceptance. Release acceptance. Sometimes it is called smoke testing. Why? Because before it comes to QA, so you can do regression, it has to be accepted. Because the release process by itself, the building process by itself is buggy. Imagine we build that software out of pieces, and one of the pieces doesn't belong to that build. It just comes from the older build. Whatever the problem was. Boom. The whole thing is not working anymore. I mean, the release acceptance test is primarily when we test if the release has catastrophic problems. But it happens. It does have sometimes catastrophic problems. So some releases will never come to QA because they will be rejected by release acceptance tests. So to qualify for regression, which is next most frequently executed test, regression, you have to pass, the release has to pass the release acceptance test or smoke test. Is it clear? Mm-hmm. Okay, we are looking at the process. Developers make changes all day long. Then someone creates a build, and they give us that build, and we do regression, we do release acceptance. And release acceptance is not done by the entire QA team. Entire QA team is working on the current release. There is maybe just one person who does that acceptance and says, good enough. Or we might have automated scripts which do release acceptance test. My very first test automation project was writing release acceptance test to be executed by release engineer. And at that time, release was done at night in our company. So pretty much 10:30, 11 p.m., developers will submit their code and go home. They would start maybe in between 10 and 11 a.m. anyway, but 10:30, 11 p.m., everybody submitted his code. And then release engineer comes maybe a couple of hours before to schmooze, drink coffee, kind of. And then he starts doing the release, and in the middle of night, maybe 2 a.m., maybe 3 a.m., the release is done. And then he doesn't know if it is good or not. So when we come in the morning, let's say QA would come maybe 9:30, we start working on that release, and we realize it's not good. Boom, the whole day has gone. We keep working on the older one, but so now I wrote that automation for the guy. So, and in the middle of night, he would run automation against his new release, and it might say, boom, 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 couple of things, and oh God, and he does it again. But at least we have much better chance to come in the morning and get the release to work with, rather than a release which fails. Is it clear? So, when we talk about automation, what is the most, how to say, what is the best return on investment in automation? Something which you execute a lot. You automate once, and then the more times you execute, the more return you have on the investment of automation time and resources. So release acceptance or build acceptance is the primary candidate for automation. Regression is next one. Just do not bypass the release acceptance test in your minds. Do not just go to regression as the most frequent, most common. No, no, no. There is another test. Not that much detailed. Just about catastrophic things. But you know what? It is the most frequently executed test we have to execute because of the technology, because of how software is being tested. Yes?
And it's done by testers, right? Not
Which
by
one?
developers. Release acceptance testing done by testers, QA testers, not
Developers cannot do it. Developers submit their code. Either release engineer will do it, preferably if we give them tools, or give them some process, or maybe verbal description of what to test, or definitely QA does it, because release engineer might do his testing, just making sure his job is done right. But as QA, we have to make sure we are not going to waste time if we switch to the wrong build, and then which takes time, and then we switch back, which also takes time. You should also understand sometimes it is a time-consuming process to switch in between releases. Very often you work in the environment where there is no executable which installs software. And the way it is installed, it is copied from folder to folder, and then you have to manually configure certain things, and sometimes you go to registry to do certain things. So we do not see software very often the way customers see that software. We are at much earlier stage. So it might take a couple of hours, sometimes, not always. Guys, obviously, if you go to website, it's right there. But sometimes it takes a couple of hours to really switch from release to release. And if you did it, and then in 30 minutes you realize the release is dead wrong, and then you spend another 2 hours to go back, half of the day is lost. So definitely, if we have enough resources in QA team, we would want someone of us to do that. So on behalf of the QA team. So whatever testing the release engineer does, whatever you do, guys, whoever you are in that process, so you test what you do. You make sure it is up to certain requirements and expectations, but QA is a kind of special process, so we do it for ourselves. Nice question. So, and again, wherever you go, when you go to internship, you will see how they do it in this company, which doesn't mean other people do it that way. By the way, anybody registered with U-Test? Not yet. Not good. When you register with U-Test and they put you in sandbox first, guys, how to say? I can keep the door open for you, okay? But if you don't go into the door, I can tell you there is nothing for you behind that door, okay? So U-Test is must. It is not something to postpone. It's not something to ignore, because the benefit you get, I mean, is enormous. And the whole thing of what we are doing here is to put projects into your resume which makes you attractive, you know, and employable. So if you ignore U-Test, what do you ignore? Your future. What's U-Test?
You just mentioned it in passing, and you said that we will come back to it later.
Okay, we will talk about U-Test in a second. So U-Test is a crowdsourcing website. When you register, they give you software to test. And we have people here, they come before even internship begins. They come with 20 projects, 15, 20 projects. And projects are normally a couple of hours or maybe one day. They send you invitations and you sign up, right? They might need 20 people. So the sooner you sign up, the better the chance. And so we will talk about U-Test in a second. But U-Test, they have completely different concept. Let's say when they say a test case, they might give you $30 to execute test case. And test case might be like 1 hour testing. While in the way we do it, test case is a smaller thing which takes a couple of seconds, you know, to do. So they have their own definitions of everything, which is fine. So your qualifications are not in knowing how to do it one way or another way. Your qualification is in being able to adjust to any way of doing things by this company or that company. Okay? So let's finish with this one. We are saying that most frequently executed test is release acceptance test. Release acceptance or build acceptance. Okay. Build acceptance. Every, each, and every build. Next one. Next one is regression. And what is regression is the next question here. So most frequently executed type of testing is release acceptance or build acceptance. The next frequently executed test, most frequently executed test, is regression. Let's talk about U-test for a second. You know about existence of the school forum, am I right? Okay. Let's go there for a second. Forums. Okay. We have online class, if you know. And in the online class, you go to online. You go to online. And in the online class, you will see that it says U-test related. Can you see it? Let's go there. So people discuss what happens there. But there is a very good post at the very end of the first page here. E-ticket user. OK. It is not the last one, but the one before the last one. And it says, OK, I encourage everyone, blah, blah, blah. And then he explains the very nature of how to use U-test effectively. Just read it. When you register at U-test, utest.com, when you register there, they ask you, which hardware do you have? Because when they give you software, they have a spec. They need iPhone and iPad, and they need mine is Windows 8. Okay, it is not that much used compared to iPhone or Android, but you know what? Some companies want it tested. So if I have that one, and I want to get invitations to the project, I can tell you, I will get more invitations than you with iPhone, because everybody has iPhone. I'm not testing there, so I'm not competing with you for the project. But look at your family resources. Look at what your boyfriend or spouse, husband has, or maybe your friends, and you can borrow. I don't know. Look at, guys. The more hardware you have, Mac, Windows, this, that, PC, devices are extremely important. Most of the projects are given on devices now. And I have a lady in Canada, our online student. She couldn't go to work for a while because of family reasons. She was making close to $1,000 a month out of home because they pay you per bug reported.
This one, U-test, right? You told about it.
I mentioned that. So you test, not me, but you test. Okay. You test and me test. Okay. So I know one guy in Siberia. Imagine Siberia, and he made 50,000 there in 1 year. Why? Because if you know programming languages, you can test at much higher level. So when the bug you find, they pay you more money. When you start, they might give you $5, then $10, $20. You have certain ranks, and that is the. Just read that. It doesn't hurt if you read the whole thing, just 4 pages, before you register. But the way you register is crucial. It is not just registering. It is about registering the right way. If you register the right way, you will get invitations every day. Also, when you do, they give you a sandbox. They call it sandbox. They give you National Basketball Association website, nba.com. And they say, OK, here is the website. Find 4 bugs. Give me 4 bugs. And based on that, they rank you. And based on your rank, they invite you to different projects. So some people, what they do, instead of 4 bugs, they send 50. And they think they're good. They're not. They were asked for 4 bugs. Give me 4 most valuable bugs you find. That's it. See what I mean? They want you to follow the instruction. Read that. OK? So you know where it is. It is under forums online. And yeah, and they give you different ranks. And sometimes they give you like 50 bucks per bug. Guys, it's not bad. And you stay home. And you can imagine how it will embellish your resume. All the internships are yours. Paid, unpaid, whatever. Best companies will talk to you. Yes, and then you go to the job market. Everybody wants to talk to you because you have tremendous experience. Or when you look at resume and you have 20 projects, and projects are cool, definitely one thing you work for 6 months or you work for 3 hours. There is a big difference. But you know what? That is the most valuable 3 hours you ever worked in terms of visibility you have. Yes?
So if we register as users right now start testing even without having much of understanding and knowledge of testing work,
Yeah.
don't we compromise our users kind of ranking if we
Well, you still are supposed to have certain common sense, number one. Number two, if you register today, maybe in a week or maybe 2 weeks, they put you in sandbox. Then you do the sandbox, and maybe it takes another week or 2 before they start giving you projects. Normally, it doesn't happen in 1 day.
They already invited me to projects, but I'm kind of concerned because I don't want to.
If you ignore projects, they stop inviting you. OK. Now, there is certain way of using that. They have videos on the website. They explain you how to be good. Guys, that is the best investment of your time ever. You might not take any class in your life. You might just go there and test for 3 months, 6 months, I don't know. And you have 100 projects. And you get some idea what testing is about. And they have lots of materials which help you to learn how to test well. And people who test there are not professional testers, guys. They are just people who want to make few bucks. Is it clear? Or maybe they have fun that way, I don't know. Maybe they just learn about existence of new applications, cool stuff they download on their cell phones, I don't know. But that is must, okay? Good. We switch to the question number 3 here. What is regression testing? What is regression testing? We have your answers. What am I doing here? OK, we have your answers. Testing done after any changes have been made to the code. That one is right, but it doesn't answer the question exactly. It answers the question when regression testing is done. I have no idea why do we do regression testing. OK, after changes have been made to the code, we do regression testing. OK, why do we do regression? What is that? See, when doesn't answer the question.